Hi. Okay, so we're going to make this part today. So this part, if we look at the side view and the top view, we see basically it contains three main areas. This one, and this circular part. And we can see that they're all at different levels. So the way I'm going to approach this is I'm going to create this sketch without this ribbed area. And then we're going to use that sketch 3 times to make the 3 main parts, recognizing that it's at different levels. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to shrink this down a little and zoom in a little bit here so we can see everything we're doing. Okay, so I'm going to create a sketch, or a new part rather. The units are in inches, so that's my default, so we're going to do that. I'm going to select the top plane to make my sketch, and I'm going to create a new sketch. I'm going to utilize a center line to locate all of my sketch entities. So the first one I'm going to do is I'll create a circle over here. Then I'm going to use a center rectangle somewhere over here. I'm not going to try to get the center point of the line, any point other than that. So I'll just do one here. And then I'll just go to my line tool. I'll create one here, go above that point, come down, and then come off here. And you'll notice that when I did that, this perpendicular showed up, which is making up the line perpendicular these two. I don't want that, so I'm going to left click on it and delete it. So a couple things I do want. I want this line and this line to be symmetric, so I'm going to select the line, hold my control key down, select the center line, and select this line. When I let go of the control key, I'm going to put in the geometric relation of make symmetric. All right, so now I can go ahead and put some dimensions in. So from here to here, the distance is going to be 2. This length is 2 as well. And from here to here, the distance is 1.75. The diameter of this circle is 1.75. And the two lengths that I need, so this one is going to be 4, and this is going to be 3.29. And if I check out my sketch at this point, if I look in the lower right hand corner, I see that I'm fully defined. All right, I'm going to put a couple more things in here. I'm just going to put 2 circles in for these cutout holes. I'm again going to utilize the fact that I have the center line here. So this circle is already selected. Holding my control key down, I'll select the center line and the other circle. Again, let go of the control key and choose the option to make symmetric. So then I'll put in my dimensions. The diameter of those holes are 0.63. And the distance dimension is 1.18. And the distance between them is 2. Okay, if I come over here, we recognize that these are 2 counterbore holes, but the holes themselves go all the way through. So if I read up on the call out, it tells me that there's 2 holes that have a diameter of 0.75, and the counterbore has a diameter of 1 and only goes down 1/2 inch. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make the 0.75 inch holes right now. and those holes are, it's an assumed dimension that they are again at the 2-inch mark here. So I'm going to create, and notice that they are, it's 1 and this is 2. So if I just do a center line here going up from the center point here, actually I wanted to make that a midpoint line. So if I do a center line, vertical, midpoint, I can click here, and then I can put my 2 circles on. And I can set those to be equal to each other. So holding my control key down, I select both of them, make them equal, and set the diameter to be 0.75. And for the width up and down, since it's on the same level as this one, what I'll do is I'll hold my control key down, select the center point of this circle and the center point of that circle, and choose to make them horizontal to each other, and that locks that bit down. Okay, so that now gives me everything I want. You might say, why am I not putting the 0.94 hole here? You'll see that in a second. I'm holding off on that because of the way I need to put in this ribbed feature. All right, so let's take a look at all the heights that we need. So the overall height is 3.25 of the main piece. So I'm going to go to Features, Extruded Boss, and I'm just going to select this contour and make the height or the blind extrusion to be 3.25. Okay, so then I'm going to open up the arrow next to it, click on Sketch 1, and I'm going to go Extruded Boss. In this case, I'm going to select this as my contour that I'm going to do, and you'll see that it has a total extrusion of 0.88 and is offset by a distance of 1.75. So instead of going from the sketch plane, I'm going to go offset. The distance will be 1.75, and it offsets in the correct direction. It could offset in the other direction, so you have to utilize these arrows to flip them in the correct direction. And the thickness has to be 0.88. And once I have those two specified, I'll say OK. All right, and then the last one is this is the circle. It's going to have an offset of 0.63 and a total length of 2. So again, clicking on Sketch 1, I'll go to Extruded Boss, select the circle as my contour. I'm going to extrude from an offset of 0.63. And the distance is going to be 2. All right, now one thing I want to point out to you now is I actually have 2 separate bodies on the screen, and you'll see it here in the Feature Manager. This folder that says Solid Bodies now says 2 next to it. So this is one of the solid bodies, and this is the second solid body. Once I connect them, we'll note that this solid body will then collapse back to being only a single solid body. But just wanted to point that out to you. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to make a sketch on the front plane. So selecting the front plane, and I'll create a sketch. And what we're going to do here is create a line that goes from this corner, and I'm not going directly to this corner. I'm just going to be down somewhere here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose to put it right underneath this point. I'll come down to the origin. I'll come back, not to the origin, the bottom of that cylinder rather. come to that edge again, and go all the way up. So you'll see that this line is fully defined. This one is mostly defined. Its height is the only thing that's not defined. And what we need to put in is an angle of 26.5. Notice the 1.24 dimension has a parentheses next to it, so that is set up as what's referred to as a reference dimension. So what we'll do is we'll go to the Smart Dimension tool. I'll select this line and this horizontal line. That gives me the two lines that I need to set the angle. I'll set that to being 26.5. And then the total width is going to be 0.88, and it's going to be a new type of extrusion. It's going to be a mid-plane extrusion. So I'm going to go Features, Extruded Boss, and instead of it being blind, I'm going to go mid-plane, and for the width being 0.88. And I'll say OK. And now we can come back and double check what that distance is. So if I want to, I can measure a distance. I can go Evaluate, Measure, and I can measure from this point to this wall. And the distance comes out to being 1.24. So that kind of agrees with what I'm finding on my drawing. And then I'll just come back here and I'll dismiss the measure tool. All right, so we have two more holes we need to put in, the 0.94 hole here, and then the 1-inch diameter hole that has a depth of 0.5. So let's put the through hole in first. We'll do Features, Extruded. I'm sorry, not going to do that. I'm going to do Sketch, selecting here as the sketch plane. The center is already marked because that was where the origin was. So I'll just go here, pull out, and use my Smart Dimension tool to make the distance 0.94. Let me delete that for a second. I just want to point out something. Just in case you created your part slightly differently and the origin wasn't here, how would you have done that? Well, you could have gone to the Circle tool. You could hover over here until the center of that circle shows up. And it just happens to be coincident with the origin of my sketch here. But either way, that would have worked. Smart Dimension, set the diameter to be 0.94, and we'll do a Features, Extruded Cut, and in this case we're going to go through all. I should have pointed out that once we created this, you'll see that the solid bodies went to 1 now. So if I use my rollback bar to go to here, you'll see solid body 1. When I created that, the solid bodies is 2, and when I created this extrusion, it now considers the whole thing a single solid body. All right, so the last thing I need to do is to put the counterbore in. So I'll create a sketch. I'll select this face as being the face that I'm going to sketch on. I'm going to create a circle, and again, I need to find the center of this circle, so hovering over the edge wakes up the center. I'll do the same thing over here. Holding the Control key down, I can select both those circles. I'll make them equal to each other. Go to my Dimension tool, set the diameter to being 1, and we'll do our Features, our Extruded Cut, and we'll make the depth not through all. We'll make it blind and the distance to be 0.5. Okay, I'll hit Control 7 to put it in isometric mode. We can zoom out a little bit and compare it to the drawing itself. Looks good. If I go to my Evaluate tab under Mass Properties, we can check, or you should check, that you get a volume of 33.66 cubic inches and your surface area is 110.94. Again, if you built it the exact same way that I just built it, you'll end up with the same center of mass coordinates, but if you built it slightly differently, your center of mass would be different with regards to wherever the origin of your part is. Okay, so that's it for this part, and stay tuned for the next video where we'll look at part 2 of this lecture.